My name is Oliver. I'm 99 years old. If you're looking at me now and thinking, here's another old man to teach you about life, you're right. But I have a right too, because I bought him for the price of 60 years in a tractor trailer and 6 years in an empty house. Who am I? I'm a man who has seen this country through a windshield for so long that sometimes it feels like the glass is my eyes. I've hauled steel, lumber, fuel. I've seen cities built and cities destroyed. I've been part of the great artery that pumps blood through the body of a nation. But you know what the trouble is with being a trucker? You get used to the world always moving past you. You sit still and everything else, the trees, the mountains, the people, just flickers by. You get used to being a spectator. I had Ammelia, my sunshine. For 70 years, she was my dispatcher in this life. She knew when I needed to eat, when to take my medicine, when to call my children. She was my connection to reality. When her heart stopped 6 years ago, my world stopped too. I suddenly realized that over the course of a century, I had learned how to drive an 18-wheeler on ice, but I had absolutely no way of driving myself in silence. Today, I will tell you about my last flight. It is not about the roads of Alaska or the deserts of Arizona. It is about the journey into yourself, about how not to crash when you are left alone with emptiness. This is a story about the loneliness that we men carry in our pockets like heavy stones until it drags us to the bottom. Listen carefully. Maybe this will save your engine when it starts to stall. Most men of my generation, and yours too, are emotional passengers. We build careers, make money, buy big cars, but at home we just rent ourselves out to our wives. Ammelia knew everything about me. She knew I liked my eggs with a runny yolk, and she knew I would never admit it when I was scared. When she left, I became the captain of a ship who didn't know where the kitchen was or how to use the compass. Do you know what it's like when a house you've lived in for half a century suddenly becomes a stranger's? Every room reminded me of my helplessness. I didn't know how to pay for the electricity via the internet. I didn't know where my warm socks were. I was like a child in the body of a centenarian. Loneliness isn't the absence of people around you. It's the loss of control. When you stop being the master of your day, you start to die. Silence is a mirror that cannot be hung. When Ammelia was gone, the silence in the house became so loud that I could hear my own thoughts, and those thoughts were not very pleasant. I thought back to all those times when I would choose a flight over my family. I thought back to when Ammelia asked me to stay for Christmas and I said, "Honey, it's double the fare. We'll buy a new roof for the garage." Now I have that roof, but she's not under it. Men often run away to work because of emotional intimacy. It's easier for us to change the oil in the car than to talk about why we feel lonely. During those 9 months of isolation, I went through a real hell of self-discovery. I realized that I didn't know myself. I knew my routes, I knew my tire pressures, but I didn't know what to do with my heart when it hurts not physically, but metaphorically. Many of you are doing the same thing now. You load yourself with work, games, videos on the internet, just to not hear that voice inside. But you know what? At the age of 99, I realized you can't run away from the partner who sits in your head. You have to come to an agreement with him. I started talking to myself, not like a crazy person, but like a mechanic with an engine. "Oliver, where is the leak? Why are we losing power?" And the answer was the same. I had not forgiven myself for the past. I was holding on to guilt like an old anchor, and it was dragging me to the bottom. To survive loneliness, you have to become a person with whom you yourself would not be disgusted to be in the same room. One morning I woke up and saw a stranger in the mirror, overgrown, dirty, with eyes that had lost their light. I said, "Enough. You're not going to die like this, Oliver." I instituted military discipline. It's what keeps a man together. Discipline is the backbone. If the backbone is broken, you're just a pile of meat. I started with my bed. Every morning I make it up as if an inspection was coming. This is my first victory of the day. Then I shave. Even if I don't meet anyone, I have to look like a gentleman. I took out Ammelia's recipe book. It was my way of communicating with her. I learned to make her signature apple pie. Do you know how many times I've ruined it? Dozens. But every time the smell of cinnamon filled the kitchen, it seemed to me that Ammelia was smiling somewhere in the corner of the room. I stopped being a passenger in my life. I became a driver. I started walking, first to the mailbox, then to the end of the street. Now I walk 3 miles a day. Every step is a statement to the world. I'm still here. I haven't given up. Men, listen to me. Loneliness is cured by action. Not by thinking about loneliness, but by action. If you're alone, build something. Fix a chair, paint a fence, write a letter to your grandchildren. Movement is life. As soon as a truck stops for a long time, its brakes go sour. Don't let your brakes go sour. When I learned to be alone with myself, I suddenly became interesting to others. It's a strange paradox. While you're desperately looking for company to escape from yourself, people avoid you. They smell your desperation like the smell of burning brakes. But when you become whole, when you're comfortable in your cubicle, people start knocking on the window. I started going out to people not to take something, but to give something. I'm sitting in this coffee shop, and young guys come up to me. They see my tattoos, my old cap, and they want to hear stories. And I don't tell them about accidents or earnings. I tell them about Ammelia. I teach them to appreciate those who are waiting for them at home. A lot of men my age become bitter. They blame the government, the weather, the youth. Bitterness is the poison you drink yourself, hoping that others will die. I chose gratitude. I am grateful for 70 years with Ammelia. I am grateful for every mile I have driven. Gratitude is the best fuel for old age. I am still alone in my house, but I am not alone. I have my inner Oliver, with whom we have finally become friends. I have memories that no longer hurt, but shine like high beams on a dark night. I have learned to forgive myself. It is the heaviest burden I have ever carried, and I have finally thrown it to the wayside. In mechanics, there is such a thing as metal fatigue. This is when parts look whole, but microscopic cracks accumulate inside them from constant stress. One day, such a part simply crumbles into dust. Men are made the same way. We hold tension, stress, fear of not being able to feed our family for decades, and we seem iron. But loneliness is the moment when the load disappears, and all these internal cracks make themselves felt. I remember the winter of '78, a big snowstorm in Wyoming. I was stuck on a mountain pass for 3 days. My diesel was running low, the radio was silent, and there was only a white wall around me. That was the first time I was afraid, not of death, but of disappearing and no one knowing my last thoughts. I wrote a letter to Ammelia on the back of a road map. I wrote about how sorry I was that we didn't dance enough. When they dug me up, I burned that letter because I was afraid of my own weakness. Men learn to hide their vulnerability deeper than their pistons. But now at 99, I understand. It is these cracks that make us human. My loneliness revealed in me what I had hidden under layers of fuel oil and severity. I began to collect moments, not things. Did you know that old rubber smells different after rain? Or that the sound of an engine changes depending on the altitude above sea level? Interesting fact. In my life, I drank about 40,000 cups of coffee at gas stations, and none of them were as delicious as the tea I am brewing now in silence, because now I feel the taste, and not just fill up with fuel to drive on. Loneliness taught me to slow down. If you constantly press the gas, you see only a blurred strip instead of the world. Slow down. Look at the details of your life while you still have time to notice them. I started driving when the only way to communicate was a coin and a payphone at a dirty gas station. You're standing in line, a piece of paper with a license plate trembling in your hands, and you only have 3 minutes to hear your wife's voice. "Hello, I'm alive, the car's fine, I love you." That's it. Every word was worth its weight in gold. We valued communication because it was rare. Today you have the whole world in your pocket. You can see a person's face on the other side of the planet every second. But have you become less lonely? I see guys in cafes. They're sitting next to each other, but each one is looking at his own screen. This is not communication. This is noise. My Ammelia wrote me letters on the road. I'm rereading them now. The paper has turned yellow and brittle, but I can still smell her perfume and see the teardrop on the word waiting. This is real presence. Loneliness in the digital age is the worst trap. You are surrounded by thousands of virtual friends, but none of them will come to sit by your bed when you have a fever. I learned to use this smartphone at 96. Why? To see my grandchildren on video. But I treat it as a tool, not a life. I teach them to write letters on paper. I tell them, write something with your own hand. Leave your mark on paper, not just pixels in a cloud. It's interesting that in 100 years, the world has changed beyond recognition. But the human heart has remained the same. It still needs confirmation that it is not alone in this cosmos. My secret to fighting loneliness at 99? I have become the one who writes, the one who calls, the one who cares. Don't wait for the world to pay attention to you. Be the light that others will flock to. Even if your light flickers a little, like an old headlight, it still dispels the darkness. I'm 99. I don't know how many miles I have left in my tank. Maybe 10, maybe 1. But I know one thing. I'll make it through this journey with dignity. If you're feeling lonely right now, if your cabin feels too cramped and the road too dark, remember old Oliver. Loneliness is not the end of the road. It's just a long tunnel. You have to keep going. Turn on the light in your soul, hold the steering wheel of discipline, and never hear me, never let go of the gas pedal. Ammelia is waiting for me at the end of this road. I can see her silhouette on the horizon, and when I finally stop and turn off the engine, I can look her in the eye and say, I did it, honey. I got this load of cargo in one piece. Take care of yourselves. Be drivers, not passengers. The road goes on.